think being alone in solitude is something that's very nourishing. I'm naturally an introvert, so being alone has never really been uncomfortable for me. Over the last year, isolation has been something that we're all kind of experiencing. It can be hard to come to terms with the fact that we're a little more disconnected than we used to be, at least physically. Solitude has such a negative stigma. Being a loner is something that was always kind of looked down upon, and I think that we're kind of moving away from that. Or at least I kind of hope so, because there's really nothing wrong with it. We are social beings, and sometimes it can be really hard to look at solitude as something that is fun for us. It's still used as punishment in some contexts, and it can be a very harmful punishment. But when you choose to take time to be alone, and I think choice is really like the most important part, being happy while being alone is something that really can happen. Taking time alone is the perfect opportunity to be reflective. I actively carve out the time to do things like journaling or box breathing, which is like my version of meditation. These are things that, I can't really do with any other people anyway. Pretty much solitary activities by nature. I don't really have to feel guilty about being disconnected during this time because it's the perfect time to be by myself. Being removed from your social world can really make you think about the ways that world really shapes you. Our identities are so highly influenced by the people around us and the groups that we are a part of, and that's really important, but it's also important to craft our identities from within ourselves. When you're spending time in solitude, you don't have to be on all the time. It's not about performing your best, and instead it's about doing the things just for the enjoyment that you get out of them. You can create the space to try new things or practice things that you're bad at. Not worry about being at the top of your game. It's giving yourself the space to suck and make mistakes. It's really your time to be the most like you. Being out in public, doing activities can feel really inhibiting, especially when you think that everybody's eyes are on you and that you're being judged for being alone. But honestly, people don't care as much as we think they do. I really enjoy just going out for coffee by myself and sitting down and just reading a book. I try to write out what my ideal perfect day alone would look like. Usually involves curling up with a cup of coffee with a blanket, have a work environment where I'm constantly in contact with people. So I feel like I'm alone most of the time. But even when I'm doing work alone, I'll put on a curated playlist, take breaks with podcasts. So I'm not just hearing my own thoughts. Because that's one of the hardest parts of being alone in solitude, is the lack of stimulation. I really like silence because I am highly sensitive. I find too much stimulation to be really draining, but I still have Netflix on in the background like 90% of the time. It's something that I'm definitely trying to move away from. Just enjoy the silence and learn to work through my thoughts. One of my favorite parts of spending time alone is that my decisions, my activities, my routines are all up to me. I can make choices at my leisure. I'm not at the mercy of anybody else. There are no rules when you're spending your time alone. There's a sense of agency independent of anyone else. Use some time to recalibrate and work on focusing on your goals, whether they're physical things or internal growth things, like reading Brené Brown for the millionth time. Learning to be alone in a world where we don't really ever have to be really fosters independence and not necessarily validation, but the confidence that, if it comes down to it, you have your own back. Being alone is not synonymous with loneliness. If you are feeling that way, reach out to your people. Everyone has a sweet spot in terms of how much time being in solitude is good for you. Take the time to do the things that you normally wouldn't and explore. It's a time to get to know yourself in a different way. I am going to enjoy my solitude. I'm going to stop talking now, so I will see you in the next.